don't know, it froze on me. We didn't even get, like, even 10 seconds into the game. Like, my OBS decided to do that. I restarted the computer. So yeah, um, just, there's nobody here anyway, so it's okay. So, this game is, I found on itch.io it was for free. It's like a yandere yuri horror visual novel or something. There was trigger warnings for like slight homophobia, cannibalism, like death, being like being buried alive. So gonna be some freaky shit, and something that scares me is being buried alive. Anything, I'm claustrophobic. I'm afraid of heights. So I guess if you put me in a really small box and drop me out of a plane, oh please, okay, I'm freaking myself out. So yeah, I just thought, oh, I want to learn how to make my own visual novel this year. I have an idea for like a dark fantasy one. So I'm just slowly developing the world and the script right now, and then I want to learn how to use Tirana Builder to create it. So I know there is lots of tutorials I can use online, and then commission either my artist friends or reach out to other artists about making backgrounds, character portraits and stuff. So you gotta pay your artist. So that'll be slow developing. Maybe have it out by next year. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. But for now, I just want to play some to get more ideas of how I can do my own thing. Okay, so this one it says like 2 to 3 hours long, multiple like branching paths and stuff, which I like. I like that. So let's get going. Not gonna freeze on me. Okay. Love the I love the box art. You are running through a forest. It is late at night, and the sky is, is as black as pitch. There is nothing to light your way save for the moon's milky glow, but its rays cannot reach you, not properly. The trees which surround you, jutting out of the earth like eerie monuments to a foreign god, are blotting out most of the light. You cannot see where you are going. Even if you had commenced your flight at a more sensible hour, however, with the light of the sun to aid you, it would be of little use. You do not know where you are going. You have no map, no route, no plan. You are running like a frightened animal, anxious and nervy, with no destination in sight. You have no desire, as you run, save to escape. You cannot let yourself be caught. If that were to happen, you are certain that you would be ruined. You have no choice, therefore, but to keep going, on and on and on, though your feet are screaming at you for mercy. You have no idea how long you've been running. Time has begun to blend together. It has lost all meaning. Something sharp snags at the hem of your skirt, but you do not have the luxury to pause and examine what has happened. Instead, you tug. Your skirt tears, the sound splitting through the forest, and you stumble forwards with a shocked gasp. You are free, but at what cost? Your skirt has been irrevocably damaged. I should know how to say that word. It was in Twilight. Might be too late to worry about such trivial matters now, though. If you do not start running again, and soon, she will catch you. I already got a fucking Yuri on my tail, and it's been like a minute. Then, your life will be over. You do not know if she is still following you, but you do not want to risk looking over your shoulder. If you were to see her, silhouetted beneath a tree, looking at you with that sickly sweet smile which once ensnared you, you would lose what little nerve you possess. Your legs would lock up and your blood would freeze in your veins. Then you would crumple. You would fall, but you would not hit the ground. She would be there to catch you. Did she not promise, when you made that contract, that you would never be alone with God? Oh, the monkey paws curled on this one. Monkey paw. Monkey paw finger. You know what I mean. You would like to take back that silly wish of yours, but it is too late for that. It is too late for a lot of things. All you can do is run. You run and run and run while icy fog swirls about your feet. It is cold enough to sap the heat from your body. You shudder from it. It feels as though you are drowning. It feels as though you're being buried alive. Starting with this already. Your knees and your shins, meanwhile, are bleeding. You cannot endure much more of this. I can't run. I can do a short sprint, that's it. But if you value your own life, you must. You run and you run and you run until, at long last, you reach a fork in the road. There are 3 paths which split off through the forest. Well, 4 if you count the path which you came. You cannot exactly double back on yourself, though, not when you have put so much effort into running forwards. You can only press on. The 3 paths are signposted, which is something of a strange sight given that you're so deep in the forest. Dark though it might be, you have grown accustomed to the shadows. You can just about pick out the writing on this old dilapidated signpost, curved and slanted though it is. Your fate, if you will forgive me for sounding cliche, is in your hands. But you can't get killed. Now I wonder, which path will you take? Oh yeah, the castle, yeah. Nothing bad ever happens in a castle. Ah, this is gonna. These 3 paths are gonna give me 3 different yanderes, aren't they? So let's go to the village. Gotta be somebody there. Maybe there's a boat at the shore. Hmm. So you want to go to the village? Good idea. Let us see what further trials await you there. I don't like the sound of that. This night is far from over, as much as you might wish it was, and there is still much there's still much and more to discover. I wonder what will happen next. You follow the path which leads to the village, supporting yourself on weary, aching limbs which feel ready at a moment's notice. The snap at the knee beneath the burden of your weight. The soles of your feet are screaming at you. You need to lie down, and quickly. Your only hope as you continue to run, that you'll find a suitable residence in which to rest at the village. You do not know what will await you at the village, but you have visions, as you run, of a quaint, scenic settlement, all thatched cottages with sloping roofs. Surely there will be a kindly peasant who will be willing to put up with a young runaway for a few nights. You can imagine, too, the face of this kindly peasant from the fairy tales you read in abundance as a small child. She will be broad-shouldered and ruddy-faced, with dull brown hair crammed beneath a cap. Her arms will be sturdy from many years of washing clothes and milking cows, but she will be kind to you and compassionate, just like a mother. You do not know what mothers are like. You hardly ever spoke to yours. God, now I got mom issues. That's just what I needed! You are only guessing. You are not a complete fool, however, despite your tendency to daydream. You do have a few reservations. Peasants do not, as you know from your voracious reading, have much money. Nor do they have much food. So, oh, is that where the cannibalism is gonna come in? Gonna eat them? Might be hard to convince a resident of the village, even the kindly washerwoman of your fantasies, to take in a complete stranger. These are doing a lot of self-doubting already. Still, you must try. That is all you can do, really. So, you've run to the village. It takes some time before you finally emerge from the woods, but finally, you made it. Or you manage it. How much time, you ask? I cannot answer that. Did I not say that time has begun to lose all its meaning? You don't have to chastise me. The forest is behind you now, at least, and all the awful nightmares which dwelt within it. It is still cold, though, and still foggy. It is still dark, too. The sun is yet to rise. You can see the... God, it's gonna be a werewolf. You can see the moon more clearly now, though, as it hangs above your head, round as any pearl, or orb, or crystal ball. The moonlight shines down upon the village, nestled among the hills like a diorama. Hope anew bubbles within you. You have finally made it. Surely not but your salvation awaits you? You follow the winding dirt path to the village, looking this way and that. But your hope, such a precious, fragile thing, soon begins to fade. The village, up close, does not look half as welcoming as you imagined. There are cottages, yes, but they are in a state of disrepair. There are holes in the roofs and holes in the windows, holes in my heart. Most of the doors are tightly shut, but others are gaping open. The kitchens beyond them even darker than the night sky which shrouds you. It's the ghost village, or cannibal village. I don't know. There are no lights on in any of the windows, and neither can you see any people, insomniacs like you, at them. You cannot hear anything either, beyond the sound of your own footsteps and the low, mournful sighing of the wind. The village is quite quiet, eerily so. He thinks this was just a photograph a person used, and put a filter over it. I don't blame them, if they did. It is immediately obvious, even to a naive girl such as yourself, that something terrible must have befallen this village. You know before you try your luck at one of the houses that nobody will answer you. There will be no kindly, red-armed washerwoman to welcome you here, no matter how much you wish for it. But that does not stop you from wishing regardless. Your knuckles rap smartly against the wooden door. Your efforts soon prove, however, to be in vain. There is nobody here to hear your entreaties. Entreaties? How very sad. You try another door, then another, but the result is the same regardless of how many doors you rap upon. Nobody answers you. How could they? There's nobody there. Once again, you have found yourself all alone. At least you have found some dwellings in which you can rest your weary head. Will you utilize one of these cottages for your purposes? Nobody is here. You might as well. But no! An abandoned cottage is not what you are looking for. You would far rather have companionship, would you not? Bravely, you swallow your tears. You wipe your eyes with the back of your arm in a well-practiced motion, then inhale. You square your shoulders, and you keep on going. I thought it was going to give me an option if I wanted to stay. To give the yandere some time to catch up to me. Surely the village cannot be completely deserted. There must be one person here, at the very least, who can help you. That is what you are thinking as you resume your search. You flit from cottage to cottage with precious little to show for your determination, until you make yet another discovery. Ooh. This village, with its squat thatched cottages bathed in the moon's glow, has a church. Sanctuary! Why did I even teach them that word? Well, of course it has a church. The villagers who once dwelt here were not godless heathens, not like blah. Not that their faith did them all that much good in the end. Good old church fashion. Still, the sight of the church soothes your overtaxed heart. You were so focused on your fantasies of a kindly washerwoman taking you in, you did not pause to entertain the fancy of a kindly nun doing much the same. Don't worry, the priest would have no interest in you, or you're not a little boy. Get my Catholic bashing. All hope is not lost. You approach the church, which seems to tower over you despite it being so humble. The church is a small one, but it is stout and sturdy. It must be, for it has withstood centuries, forever standing sentinel on this hill, like a relic from a bygone era. The church does not have any stained glass windows, but it does not need them. Even without more luxurious trappings, the church still exudes an aura of dignified solemnity. Sometimes you just see a word and you can read it, but you can't pronounce it because you never heard it out loud. The stone building is fringed by a sizable graveyard, one which occupies the rest of the hilltop and some of its sloping sides. I hope I don't get buried alive in one of these open graves. The graves, which have been planted by generations of wardens, are hewn from a similar stone to that which the church's walls are made of. Some of the gravestones are shaped like lozenges. Didn't know they would have lozenges in these fairy tale medieval times. While others are shaped like crosses. A handful of headstones are even shaped like angels, though these are few and far between. There are very few people in a village such as this one who can afford such luxurious final resting places. You look at the tombstones with an almost childlike curiosity, forgetting, in your examination of the visceral, heart-rending fear which gripped you as you ran through the forest. You are out of the woods now, and you have, subconsciously, already begun to relax. You tried to read the names hewn into the myriad tombstones, but it is dark, and you are tired, and some of these graves are very, very old indeed. You strain your eyes, but you do not have much luck in this endeavor. Oh well. Such superfluous details are not important. I thought the way they spelled endeavor with a U was like Canadian or British. This person is. Americans don't like to use Q's. You eventually tire of examining the graves and turn. This graveyard is an expensive one. Unusually so, given the village itself is so small. How can it boast so many corpses? And there is so much to explore. You walk about the perimeter of the church, casting your gaze first here, then there, then everywhere, consumed, as you are, by your immense, all-encompassing curiosity. And as you do, oh shit, you see her. God, I'm gonna get killed. Why does she look like, was it the elf archer from Goblin Slayer? I think it's just the cloak. First thing that came to my mind. She looks like an ordinary girl, small and scrawny, just like yourself, but she is much, much more than her unremarkable appearance might suggest. Oh, I found my yandere! For some moments you observe her, hiding, all the while, in the shadow cast by the church, like a furtive lizard, clinging against a rocky edifice to shroud itself from the sun. There is no sunlight here, though. There is only the night sky, and the stars, and the moon. Beneath the moon's light, a silver implement the girl is clutching shimmers. Yeah, it's a little fucking bent, isn't it? It takes you a few moments to see what it is that the girl is clutching in her hands. It is not until you see her manipulate it, its sharp edge biting into the earth, that you understand. It is a shovel. It's gonna bash me over the head. Bury me alive. I'm already dead. This girl is standing in an isolated corner of the churchyard, late at night, and she is digging a grave. Well, you suppose she could always be digging a hole for the sake of it, but her work seems much too precise for this to be the result of mere whimsy. I'm dead. I'm dead. It is hard for you to see her face, given the distance between the pair of you, but her posture is one that speaks of supreme concentration. She moves slowly, mechanically, like a woman on a mission, driving the end of her shovel into the earth over and over. Her motions are regular enough to be repetitive. There is something hypnotic, almost, in the manner in which she attends this task. Yes, hypnotic. Like a lava lamp. Should you risk interrupting her? Do you dare? Well, before I do that, I dare to save. You get the feeling that she would not appreciate it. The shovel in her hands, meanwhile, is rather hefty. If she wished it, she could cause you no small amount of damage with it. Yeah, I kind of figured that. Cold anxiety, that's just me all the time, makes your skin prickle. You do not know if you should risk speaking to her when she, in her dark cloak, with her shovel, looks so very strange. What do you have left to lose? You have come this far. I've come so far. Got so far. In the end, it doesn't even matter. Just knows there's little Scooby-Doo bones on her cloak. It would be folly to turn back now. Can you let me choose, though, if I interrupt her or not? It is with this thought in your mind that you decide to approach the strange girl. Yeah, don't let me have a choice. Your footsteps are quiet. You have grown accustomed to slinking around like a cat, but they are not quiet enough. The girl's senses must be finely tuned because she blinks. Then she turns. Your eyes meet, and once they do, you feel your breath catch in your throat. You do not have a clear view of the girl before, concealed as you were in the shadows, but now she is looking at you, and you can tell that she is pretty. Pretty crazy. Her skin is very smooth, and her hair, though obscured by a dark hood, is very fair. Her eyes, meanwhile, are clear, cool blue, like ice. It's baby. Those eyes of hers, which are large with unease, are fringed with very long, fair eyelashes. She looks as though she stepped out of the pages of a picture book. She is simply too perfect to belong to this world. Perhaps she is some kind of vision, a waking dream, a hallucination? But no, she is none of those things. The shovel she is clutching in her hands looks solid enough, its pointed tip glittering wickedly in the moonlight. You steel yourself, expecting, perhaps, some sort of outburst. But the tension soon drains from the girl's slender shoulders. Her fingers, which once were gripping the handle of her shovel tightly, relax. Her lips curve upward at the edges. She is smiling. What a smile it is. Very anime. It is transformative. When she smiles, she looks radiant, angelic almost. Hers is a smile that is so suffused with light that your eyes begin to prickle from it. You are so relieved you almost feel as if you could cry. It would not be the first time you have wept during this night, and neither would it be too surprising if you did. You have been through a lot. You must be exhausted. And I let down my guard, I'm gonna get killed. The girl holding the shovel seems to realize this, because she bridges the distance between you cautiously, as one might approach a skittish cat. Then she says, in a rough voice, which does not match her dainty appearance, well, she does live in a rural village, what were you expecting? Oh, it's so good to see another person. I was afraid I was the only person left alive, the only one in the whole world. Now, this is quite the effusive greeting. I've learned so many new words. Her introductory speech is riddled with exclamation marks. She is rather more personable than her apparel would make one suggest. You, a well-bred young lady, cannot help but feel overwhelmed. Okay, so I'm some rich upper crust little baby who doesn't get along with mommy and is gay. So, okay. It is your turn now to be on your guard. Anxiously, you observe the girl with the shovel, and you ask her what she means. What happened? Oh, do you not know? There's an awful lot you do not know. In fact, so much in fact, it would fill a whole encyclopedia. No, a whole library. You shake your head, ashamed at your ignorance, and the girl frowns. You mustn't be from around these parts. I guess I should have known. This village is a small one, and everybody knows everybody else. The girl's expression falls. At least, they used to, back when there was still people to know. That ain't the case now, though. Not after the plague. I shall give you the plague. There was a plague? That would certainly explain why the village, when you walk through it, is so quiet. Did everybody else succumb to this mysterious illness? That's right. It's just me here now. I've not seen another human being in a long, long time. It gets so lonely here. Now, that is an interesting turn of phrase. It catches inside your head like a burr. Or comedy special by Bill Burr. Have you heard it before? You do not have much time to ponder this, however, because the girl takes a step towards you. Oh, but where are my manners? They must have gone rusty after being on my own for so long. My apologies, miss. You look like you've come a long way. Said you're a traveler, yes? And your hands are very cold, just like ice. Would you like to come inside? Maybe have something warm to eat and to drink? My home's small, I'm afraid, and my food ain't nothing fancy, but I'd be more than willing to share, so I could drug you and throw you in a grave. It's not every day another girl stops by, especially not one as pretty as yourself. I'm feeling very blessed to have a new victim to bury alive. I just think she's gonna bury me alive. I'm in a graveyard. She's got a shovel. I'm cautious. The girl laughs. A carefree, airy sort of a laugh, which does not match your initial impression of her. You thought, when you saw her among the graves, among us, she's kind of sus after all, that she would be more distant somehow and more mysterious. Perhaps you are mixing her up with somebody else. You are still unsure if you can trust this girl, but her invitation is an appealing one. Are you gonna let me choose, though? It is much more appealing, certainly, than spending the night outdoors, in the cold, kipping on the graves. What are you? A romantic poet? Please. You make a show of pondering the girl's invitation. At the very least, you do not want to appear too eager, but your acquiescence is, alas, an inevitability. Can't stick today. Why would you ever refuse her? She is the first friendly face you've seen all night. Without her, you'd be all alone. I have some choices, please? It wouldn't be funny if you like, nah, I'm good, and you just leave. Your hostess leads you to a small, humble home, located but a stone's throw away from the church, built in the shadows of a twisted, towering sycamore. The girl's home is in such a state it seems a folly to even call it a home. Hovel would, to you, be the more appropriate descriptor. But when your hostess leads you inside, her eyes alive, she says, "Here we are, home sweet home." You don't have the heart to tell her that you don't find her home very homey or very sweet. That would be incredibly rude. As a guest, you ought to be more appreciative. Half-heartedly, you look around your newfound surroundings. The ceiling is supported by wooden joists and is perilously low. Not so much that you are in danger of bumping your head, but just enough to feel claustrophobic, like you're in a coffin, as you're being buried alive. I just named the stream that. I feel like I'm gonna get buried alive. Buried alive. There's a fire in the corner, though it is not consigned to a grate. The fire instead is blazing in the open, a circle of logs set alight like a scene from a witch's kitchen. Above the fire hangs a silvery pot, suspended from one of the wooden eaves. I ain't been dropping no eaves, sir. Other objects of interest are hung from the eaves. Iron implements you take to be cooking utensils, various herbs, and strips of meat left to cure. The smell of cooking fills the air, mingled with the sharp, sour scent of unwashed bodies. So, an anime convention? How, you wonder, does your hostess clean herself? Ew, stinky girl. You do not see a bathtub anywhere. Perhaps she does not possess one. God, you really are a rich bitch. Ew, people don't have bathtubs like moi. The girl's home is unremarkable in every regard, but it is, you suppose, better than nothing. At least there's a roof over your head and food to put in your belly. The girl looks to the pot, suspended over the fire, which she gives a stir with a ladle. There she brings the ladle to her lips, to taste whatever concoction she is brewing within it. Perhaps a sleeping potion, to drug you, so she can put you in a coffin, to bury you alive with. You can only hope that she is not, like the weird sisters from that famous play, brewing a broth with fenny snake fillets. Fillets? Fillet. Oh yeah, haha. Macbeth. Yes, I think this is just about done, the girl says, to nobody in particular. She sets the ladle down, back into the pot, then looks to you and smiles. Do you want something? It looks as though you've come quite a long way, and you must be hungry. These words are like music to your ears, even more divine than the trumpets of God's most loyal angels. You are so hungry you could eat a horse. Or a human. Not that there are any horses in immediate vicinity. I did see Artex out there, but he drowned. Swamp of sadness. You expressed your interest to your hostess, who smiles in response. I thought you'd like the sound of that. Just give me a few moments. Your hostess retrieves 2 earthenware bowls from a cupboard with rickety hinges, into which she pours 2 hefty helpings of whatever it is she is cooking. She killed everybody and ate their flesh. She is digging up corpses to eat them. She is a ghoul! She is a ghoul! This she serves with bread, which is so hefty it can be used as a murder weapon. Oh god. She's gonna kill me with the bread. It's not much, I'm afraid. It's only soup and bread. It should take the edge off your appetite, though. You thank your hostess for her hospitality, your stomach rumbling all the while. The soup does not look like anything you would typically consume, but the soup's poor presentation does not dissuade you. It is true enough that people eat first with their eyes, but when one is hungry enough, one becomes obliging enough to eat almost anything. Why else do you think that people, when stranded upon desert islands, will resort to cannibalism? This is like the second time, I think? First time that... All I know is that I'm very aware that there's cannibalism. Humans are creatures of necessity. Sorry, I'm just thinking of, the cannibalism thing, Marge watching the Alive movie. So glad we're all alive. We sure are! Past the hunk of co-pilot. Oh boy. You like to wrap yourself up in pretensions, but in actuality, you are not much better than animals. You are so hungry, your stomach is achingly empty, and if you certainly descend upon your food like an animal, your teeth glint, your scissors gleam. I am a werewolf. The full moon! And soon you have consumed all that your hostess has offered you. It tastes a bit like pork, which is strange. I didn't see any, pigs around. What else tastes like pork? Perhaps human flesh? Your hostess watches while you eat, and she giggles once you have finished. For now, you have become an unwitting cannibal. Did you enjoy that? Oh, you catch your hostess's gaze, suddenly abashed. You were so hungry you failed to account for her judgment. Now you have some food in your belly, though, and you have been suitably warmed. Your old self-consciousness is returning. Did you not make a fool out of yourself, eating like a starved animal? You demurs shyly, looking at your lap, fearful all the while of what your hostess might think of you. You do not want her to take against you. She's the one that offered me food, and then I ate the food, and I'm like, oh my god, she's gonna think I'm so weird. Fortunately for you, however, and for your fragile ego, your hostess is not the judgmental sort. She is not like the girls you grew up with. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's nice to see my food being appreciated so heartily. Not like those other scumbags that I killed and ate. I know I'm not the best, but I've been practicing for a long while. I used to cook for my father all the time, you see, and then he beat me black and blue, and then I killed him and ate him. Suman, this remark catches your attention. Quizzically, you look at your hostess, your abashment over your animalistic eating habits suspended. What happened to her father? It seems a grim thing to contemplate after having eaten his fresh corpse. But didn't your hostess mention something about a plague? Yeah, the plague of cannibalism. Blah! I want to eat your flesh. Yes, your hostess says, her voice soft now and serious. That's right. There was a plague. Haha, that's what I said in my lie, right? And what of the villagers? What of her father? They're all gone now. And the music stopped because she fucking ate them. Gone? Yes, you see, I killed them all and ate them. Your hostess rearranges herself upon her chair, one slender leg folded over the other. Then she begins her tale in earnest. My family has a history. We've lived here for centuries by the church, so as we can tend to the graveyard. Ah, so this abode is centuries old then. And, you know, you're gonna run out of space in a graveyard eventually, doing this for centuries, so, you know, you just gotta eat some of the corpses. It would certainly explain the dirt. My father used to prepare bodies for burial. Back when he was alive, he built the coffins, and he dug the graves, and he lowered the coffins into the dirt. Yeah, so what's gonna happen to me? Like father, like daughter. I know it might sound like an awful job, but somebody's got to do it. There's no sense averting your eyes from death, not when it happens to the best of us. It's a noble profession, one that's been handed down in our family for generations. My father's father was a gravedigger, and so was my father's father, and my father's 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 father. Lots of fathers. Digging graves is in our blood. So is the cannibalism. It's who we are. My. That was a surprisingly pretty speech, coming from a girl who lives in the countryside. Yeah, you know those country bumpkins. They can't fucking read or be eloquent in speech. It's only us rich did it. A girl who's without much in the way of education. Okay, I should have finished that. Yeah, just called her a brainless hick. It is apparent, just to listen to her, and the way she slurs her syllables together, that she has never had any elocution lesson. Not like you. There is a determination, however, to her. She's filled with determination. Flesh. And a pride in her genealogy which gives her a respectable aura. You cannot help but be impressed. So you ask your hostess, does that make her one in a long line of gravediggers? Yes, your hostess, the gravedigger says. That's about right, though I was never supposed to be a gravedigger myself. It is not a woman's profession. That's what everybody says. My father didn't mind that, though. He taught me everything he knew, and then some. The then some is the cannibalism, isn't it? I might be a woman, but I have plenty of upper body strength to kill people, break their jaws, snap their necks. I can dig a grave just as well as my father could, without breaking a sweat. To the despair of my mother up in heaven, I'm sure, who I murdered and ate her flesh. I know I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but you know. It said this was a Yandere game. I was chased by a Yandere, and now I've found a new Yandere. I'm sure if she were still alive, she'd rather I focus on more feminine pursuits, like basket weaving or sewing, to better attract a suitor. Not that they would do much good now. Well, you know, and that's when I turned to the most evil thing I could, lesbianism. There's nobody around who'd court me, not for miles and miles. And what happened to her mother? She died when I was very young, during childbirth. I was only 5 years old. Okay, so where's the younger sibling? Oh, well. You can relate to her, at least, upon this point. Your parents are not dead, at least, not as far as you are aware. But you have not seen them in an awfully long time. They sent you away as soon as you were old enough, and they never once bothered to check up on you, and that's where the mommy issues come from. When you have mommy issues, you become a lesbian. For many years, there have been no letters, nor any visits. You offer the gravedigger your condolences. You do not know if they will help, but you feel like you cannot say nothing. That would seem heartless. The gravedigger, however, does not seem too upset by this turn of events, because she smiles, albeit somberly. It's all right. It was ages ago. I don't remember her too well. And I've never really had the luxury of sitting around feeling sorry for myself. Not when there's all that tasty flesh to eat. I had too much work to do. Around the house, you ask? That, too. I was the oldest child, so it was my job, after my mother died, to manage the sweeping and the cooking. Oh, and looking after all my siblings, too. Geez, how many did that mom pump out before she died? She was 5. You were 5. You blink, intrigued, and glance about your hostess's humble lodging. You do not see any siblings in the immediate vicinity. Well, duh. They're all been eaten by her. Where could they be? Where do they come from? Where do they go? Where do they come from? Katna joke. The gravedigger must have noticed your roving eyes. You are not being exactly civil. Ooh, you're doing this. Because she shakes her head. I had siblings. 2 younger brothers. They're both gone now. Ah, okay. Dodge killed them all. Oh. You should have known. You apologize to the gravedigger for your lack of tact, but she does not seem upset by this faux pas. Yeah, I could say some words. Don't apologize, not your fault. My brothers weren't long for this world anyway. The youngest, he died when he was still a babe, and the oldest, he died before he reached double digits. For I killed him the day before his 10th birthday. I was upset about it at the time, of course, but I've come to terms with it. Life's a fleeting thing in this wicked old world. That's something you learn in this trade. Digging graves, I mean. I've dug graves for the elderly and the infirm, but I've also dug graves for young babes still in their swaddling clothes. That's the nature of death. It comes for all of us in the end, no matter how old we are, no matter how much money we have, no matter how good or bad we've been. It's the greatest equalizer. Or so I've heard. A chill sweeps down your spine as you listen to your hostess speak. She is not wrong, but the inherent mortality of all humankind is not something you wish to contemplate. It is too disturbing. For the longest of times, my family was a small one. It was just my father and me, but that was fine. It was how I liked it. Oh dear. Is there a stepmother involved that you murdered too? I was very happy, even if our lives weren't the best. I've never had any fancy clothes to wear, and we can't dine on the finest of foods. In the grand scheme of things, we ain't nothing that special, but I've always felt otherwise. I thought that I was blessed. We knew hardship, of course, and famine, but that's just the way life is around here. When food supplies were low, we ate each other. We ate everybody. It ate everybody, stupid. We always helped one each other out. Just cannibalism. There we go. I spelt the title wrong in Little Scroller. I had my father, but I also had the rest of the village. We all looked after one another, and things always worked out in the end. Well, until now. At least, they did. Until the plague happened. Yes, she had mentioned the plague, like, a few times. You had been wondering when she was going to return to that topic. You suppose that the plague is the reason that the village, as you traversed it, was so very empty? You'd suppose right. The plague tore through the village. I don't remember when. It feels like a while ago, but maybe wasn't all that long after all. Oh, she's forgotten. Time has lost all meaning. It feels like I've been on my own for centuries, but... Your hostess's eyes begin to cloud over. Oh, she's a Wendigo. That's why she's looked for centuries. She looks as though she's entrenched within her own memories. When did she become a Wendigo? What could she be remembering? You have never seen a plague before, though you have heard of them in your history lessons. Your history professor was quite enthusiastic about the subject. She talked about piles of dead bodies stacked up on the streets, and stacked up in the wooden carts to take them away, with no shortage of aplomb. She was a strange woman, your history professor. Kinda morbid. She listened to crime podcasts a lot. The plague came on very suddenly. There was no warning. One day, everything was fine, and the next, they were all dead. It is with no small amount of anxiety that you eye the gravedigger. Then you ask worriedly, surely could they not have all died? Is that not an exaggeration? Oh, if only. I wish I was exaggerating, but it's the truth. Honest to God. The people in the village died, one after the other, just like that. I saw what that plague does to people firsthand. My father was one of the first people who caught it. I think one of the bodies which came through that we buried must have had it. Not that I know for certain. I'm just guessing. Still, my father didn't have an easy time of it. His skin turned all gray and clammy. He complained of a horrible fever. There were night sweats, stomach cramps, and then there were the boils. And then Moses came through with his own plague. So many locusts. Let my people go, he said. The boils. Pustules. They were the size of eggs, ugh, and they were full of pus. When they burst, it stunk. The whole house was full of it, the stink of death. Oh. Oh dear, and Dr. Lee wasn't around. She could have handled all of these things. The wise woman of the village came to see if she could be of any use, but it was no good. My father was too far gone already. She took one look at him, lying on his deathbed, and she shook her head. Well, I tried. We tried nothing, and we're all out of ideas. She said she didn't want to get any closer. I can't say I blame her. It was a ghastly sight. I didn't appreciate it at the time, though. I felt like she was turning her back on us. So I killed her. I wished her ill, I remember that, after she left. Until a few days passed, and she fell sick too. Then, I felt bad for cursing her. I couldn't help but worry if it was all my fault. It's silly, I know, but... The gravedigger closes her eyes. She seems to squeeze her lids together until her lashes melt like flecks of fallen snow. Her shoulders, which are very slender, are shaking. She looks as though she might at any moment fall apart. It wasn't long after that that the rest of the village fell ill. They all had the same symptoms as my father, the clammy skin, and the fever, and the boils. The boils grew, then they burst, then they died in screaming, stinking agony. Delicious. My father died too, only 3 days after he fell ill, but I think even that was 3 days too many. I didn't want my father to die, of course. I did everything I could to help him, but it was all pointless. None of my herbal salves had any impact. I couldn't make a blind bit of difference. All I did was stand about his bedside, telling him it'd be alright, until his eyes sank into his skull like 2 black stones, and his mouth dried out. Lovely! I love the description! During that last day, before he died, he might have been a corpse already. He didn't look at me, he didn't speak to me, he just lay in bed with his eyes closed, groaning. I'd never wished any ill on my father before, but during those moments The gravedigger squeezes her hands, which are resting upon her black-clad lap, into fists. She trembles. Then, in a voice throbbing with awful emotion, she says, I wish he had just died. Well, based on her anecdote, it does not sound like she had overly long to wait. I wonder if she would consider that a silver lining? No, perhaps not. The gravedigger is still shaking. She will not cry, will she? You hope not. It is too awkward when other people cry. Awkwardly, you look at the gravedigger. You are not sure how to soothe her, but you know you must make some sort of an effort, even if it is a token one. You shift upon your chair, which feels very cold and hard beneath your thighs. Then you say very softly that you are sorry. It is not much, but it is all you can think of saying. You had thought, initially, that your situation was comparable to that of the gravedigger, but now that you can see it is not the case. Her suffering has far outstripped your own, and it is always the oppression Olympics around here. Not that suffering is a God, this kind of read my mind there. Not that suffering is a competition, of course. Your apology feels inadequate to your ears. Largely because it is, but the gravedigger seems not to mind it. She is very big-hearted, that girl, to smile at you so, no matter how foolish you might be. Do you really deserve such kindness? Oh, again with the apologies. It's all right, like I said. You didn't cause any of this. I'm not upset at you. I'm just recounting what happened is all. I do wonder, though, why I never felt sick myself. Because you're a Wendigo. You ate those corpses. I thought I was going to die, so I had already prepared for the Reaper to come and take me away. But maybe he wasn't interested. Maybe he had already satiated his appetite on all the others. That, or maybe he thought he'd have to leave me alive for practicality's sake. With my father gone, who else would tend to the dead? I was the only person left by the end of it all, so I had to bury the people in the village. They're all resting peacefully now, under the earth, where the plague can't reach them, and soon you will join them! On the one hand, I'm happy for them. They were able to escape from all their suffering. When I think about all the people I've lost, though, the gravedigger tenses. Then she sniffs. When I think about the kindly washerwoman who helped me scrub the mud and the washerwoman who helped me scrub the mud and dirt from my clothes. Aha! So this village did have some fair share of washerwomen after all. It would seem your earlier insistence on this particular point was not without merit. That's what matters. And the handsome young farmhand who used to flirt with me. The priest who preached at the church, who told us wonderful tales of paradise, and the children who would skip stones on the lake and play hopscotch in the streets. I can't help but feel so lonely. Like the title of the video game's about loneliness or something. The gravedigger's eyes begin to shine. Once she has finished her address, with tears, but she does not let them fall. She is being very brave, much more than you are. Yeah, you loser. Anxiously, you extend a hand towards her, meaning to... what? Give her a hug? You do not know her well enough. I think we know enough about each other now. Pat her head? That would be infantilizing. Squeeze her hand? Perhaps that would be misconstrued as a romantic overture, and that is the last thing you want. Ew! Don't want to be near a smelly, grave-digging lesbian. You endured more than your fair share of teasing over that. Aha! There's the, slight homophobia, I guess. You sit there for a few moments, paralyzed by indecision, as the gravedigger poorly suppresses her sniffles. Getting awkward for both of us. In the end, it doesn't even matter. You let your arm drop back to your side, your hand rests upon your lap, as useful as damp kindling. You do not know what to do with it. You do know that you ought to say something, though, to show that you heard her plight, that you care. You do not know what this... And I'm not alone now, at least. I've met you. You'll keep me company, won't you? And here comes Leander. You can't leave me alone. I'm all alone. Well, what can you say to that? You aren't callous enough to trample this poor girl's hopes, are you? Are you gonna let me make that decision, narrator? That would be nice. You know full well yourself how awful that feels. You can do nothing but nod, a response which makes the girl smile more widely still. That's wonderful. I know you're just a traveler who's passing through, but I can offer you bread and board until you leave. I have food enough and a spare bedroom. I can make it up for you right now. Why don't you just leave? You must be tired after your long journey. Just give me a moment. You have like a little dagger on a string around her neck. The gravedigger rises to her feet in a flurry of excitement, then retreats. You watch as she departs, a little too eager to please. Frown. Yeah. Something's sussy about this. The girl's home is small, humble with one... The girl's home is a small, humble one with a low ceiling and slanted walls. You cannot imagine such a small dwelling possessing a spare bedroom. This so-called spare bedroom is, in all likelihood, the room her father slept in before the plague carried him off. You do not think that you would much like to spend the night in the room of a dead man, but what choice do you have? You are tired, wretchedly so. Why, it is all you can do to keep your eyes open. When's that yandere that was chasing me through the woods? When's she gonna pop up? While you were running through the forest, desperate to escape your pursuer, okay, there we go. You had no thought in mind beyond finding some safe sanctuary in which you can recuperate. Now that you have found said sanctuary, it would be unreasonable to find faults with it. You ought to learn to be more thankful for what you have. There are many, many people in the world with less. Ooh, lovely. Yeah, it is just a photo with a filter on it, but it's a free game. I don't care. Everything else looks great. I'm just being silly. You rise and follow the gravedigger once she has finished her preparations to her so-called spare bedroom, which is every bit as cramped as you feared it would be. Ugh, cramped! Ugh, this girl would not last in a hostel. I have been to a few. At least there is a bed, which comes as something of a relief. The rest of these lodgings are so humble you are half expecting a straw pallet. As tired as you might be, you cannot lie to yourself. You have no desire to sleep among the hay like an animal. I have priorities. I might be on the run from a yandere, but you know, I have to have a good bed. The sheets of the bed are clean too, a fact you discern with a cursory glance. So, you will not be expected to sleep upon the sweat-soaked linen of a plague-ridden man after all. This really is your lucky day. Woo! Bonus! I got you the suit, the gravedigger says, somewhat shyly, as she hands you a folded gown to sleep in. I thought it might come in handy. Your own clothes are, a little shabby. She can say that again. Your skirt is covered in mud, and the hem is torn and ragged. This nightgown is one of my old ones, so it suffered a bit of wear and tear, but I hope it'll fit all right. I've figured out your body measurements, because I am a yandere. It's clean if nothing else. You accept the nightgown from your benefactress with words of thanks. You want to sound appropriately appreciative, but you cannot mask your fatigue. Weariness overcomes you, and you yawn, a fact the gravedigger does not fail to notice. Oh, the drugs are working that I put in that soup. Oh, begging your pardon. I didn't want to keep you. I'll be making myself scarce. If you need anything, though, don't hesitate to ask. I'd be happy to help. You. The gravedigger bows her head to you like a drudge, then hurries off, closing the door behind her with a thud. Tired though, tired though you are, you find that you'd rather miss your host's company. In the face of her good-natured smiles, you can almost forget all the hardships you have hitherto endured. In her absence, however, your lodgings feel almost unbearably cold and inhospitable. You suppress a shudder, then unclothe yourself. You work as quickly as you are able, but your fingers are cold, and they fumble with the buttons of your blouse. It takes you more time than you would like to complete this endeavor, but soon you have your shirt and your skirt dispensed with. You are too tired to fold them neatly. You do not bother to fold them at all. Instead, you cast them carelessly upon the floor, as defiant as a sulky child, then pull over your new nightgown. Your hostess's early warnings were apt enough. It is quite worn, but it fits well enough. It is more comfortable, at least, than your old uniform. You have endured worse. Newly dressed and ready for bed, you loosen your hair from your braids and settle among the sheets. When do we get to the yandere stuff? You built it up. I know she's a cannibal. It is with a sigh you extinguish the weakly flickering candlelight which burns on your bedside, and with another sigh as that you lay your head down upon your pillow. Though physically exhausted, you have to wonder whether you'll be able to sleep at all. Oh, I don't like that. I can hear your heartbeat to the beat of the drum. You can recall your previous dash through the forest in such vivid detail. Your heart is still pounding. That fear is yet to leave you. Perhaps it will never leave you. I hope nothing fucking pops up on me. I'm just gonna lean back a little. Your terror was such. It almost feels as though it has suffused itself into your bones and into your very being. But your exhaustion is greater than your worldly anxieties, and soon it claims you. Your eyelids fall shut, and your breathing inevitably begins to even out. It is not long until you are spiraling through a dark, deep abyss, lost in Morpheus's kingdom. Like, okay, it's just dreaming about the Matrix, I guess. But your sleep, despite your wearied state, is not as restorative as you had hoped. Your imagination has always been overactive. Even at Conservator, you're frequently beset by dreams of the most vivid nature. The dreams that which you have, the dreams that you have this night, lying. So that tune sounded a little bit like House in the Sky for a moment. I was like, fuck. Cheetah! Patsu! It sounds a little bit screwing up. The dreams that you have this night, lying beneath unfamiliar sheets upon an unfamiliar bed, are no less intense than usual. In your dreams, in my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill. You are back at the Conservatoire, the place where this adventure of yours began. Oh, we're gonna get. Is this all in media res? You are wearing the crisp white blouse you once discarded, and your gray, unremarkable skirt. Your hair is tied in braids, and your eyes are downturned, forever focused upon your feet. You tried not to look at your classmates, and you thought yourself fortunate if they did not look at you in return. You did not want anybody to notice you. Until that awful winter, that is, where everybody stopped paying attention to you for good. Jesus, you do. Nobody tried to trip you when you walked past them in the hallways. Nobody, in fact, so much as glanced at you. All of a sudden, there were no malicious whisperings, no wicked laughter, no pulled hair, no thrown objects, no, homo, homosexual slurs, I guess. You were giddy with relief at first over this newfound means of tormenting you that your classmates have devised. But this little game, that of complete and utter disregard, continued and on and on and on as the days grew shorter and the nights grew longer. As time passed you began to fret as to the state of your own corporeality. I'm telling you, it sounds like Castle in the Sky. Could anybody still see you? Did you even exist at all? Then, at long last, you found it, quite by accident, the source of all your woes. One of the girls had erected it in the forest through which you were sometimes bidden to jog for PE class, beneath the shade cast by an old oak tree. It was a makeshift tombstone, a small, meager monument made of stone, upon which one of your classmates had hewn a name. Oh, God. Maybe I am a ghost. Your name. You knew at once, as you stood there, standing beneath the shade of that ancient tree, that this was the reason behind your classmates' silence. This is why they had, for many months, been ignoring you so assiduously. They had buried... God, oh God. I am a ghost! I am a ghost. Oh God, I've been Bruce Willis. In their hearts, you had already died. What? Your eerie dreams notwithstanding, you sleep more comfortably than you anticipated. When you awake the following morning to the sweet chirping of birdsong, you feel well rested, albeit woozy. Your head is aching, knees weak, arms are heavy. Mom spaghetti. It is nothing, however, that a cup of hot tea cannot fix. A lot of dialogue, and I'd sure like to make some decisions. You stumble into the kitchen in your nightclothes, your hair loose and your feet bare, and the gravedigger turns to you. She looks at your face, which is pasty, and your under eyes, which are dark, and exclaims, in the manner of one accustomed to solving problems, not complaining about them. Oh, you look awful. I think you need something warm to drink. And maybe you need something to eat too? Let me get started on breakfast. That is exactly what she does. She gets started on breakfast, which proves to be quite the simple affair, nothing like the luxurious food you are accustomed to in your past life. Am I a ghost? Is she a ghost? The bread is hard enough to break your teeth on, and the cheese is a bit too strong. It is food all the same, though, and you do not complain. Your stomach was beginning to grumble. The tea is inoffensive, at least, and you drink it gratefully. Well, I can't brew tea for shit, so... Like, I love green tea and jasmine tea, but I have to go to restaurants and get them to make it for me. I cannot do it. You thank the gravedigger girl for her hospitality, and she smiles at you in return. A sunny smile, like a field of blooming bellflowers. It is no problem. Don't hesitate to ask me if you need anything else, she says. Words that come to symbolize your relationship. You stay with the gravedigger for many, many more days, and limited though her means might be, she always tries to help you. The gravedigger sets you chores about the house to keep you occupied, a fact for which you are grateful. You need to do something to keep your mind off your frantic flight through the forest. When does the shoe drop, though? You can almost forget about it now, during the day. During the night, however, it returns to you. The sound of your feet against the foliage, and the swirling fog. Did I say that right? Foliage? Foliage? When you sleep, you are assailed by nightmares. Sometimes you awake after midnight, the sheets twisted around your body, and your mouth gaping open in a paroxysm of terror. Though you try to tell yourself otherwise, you are still afraid. Being with the gravedigger makes you feel less so, though, particularly when you're sweeping the floor or keeping an eye on the bread loaves so they do not burn. You attend to most of the domestic chores, while the gravedigger concerns herself with the work she knows best, that is, digging graves. Even though there are no more corpses to bury, her dogged persistence when it comes to this pursuit intrigues you, so much that you cannot help but posit a question to her on one particular morning when the sky is festooned with clouds. And the music stops, so you know it's going to get serious. Why, you ask her, perhaps a touch insensitively, do you continue to dig graves? There's nobody left after all to dig them for. I am saving the best one for last. For you! You have always been practical, and you cannot see the point in it. What's the point in it, The gravedigger ponders, while holding her precious shovel to her chest. Fortunately, she does not seem upset by your question, despite its bluntness. You should count yourself lucky her temperament is so very placid, for now. I don't suppose there is any point to it, really, the gravedigger eventually says, with a small smile. I know it doesn't have any practical purpose, but, well, digging graves is what my father did. He showed me how to do it so I can continue his legacy. Legacy. What's in a legacy? The planted flowers in a garden. Was it planted flowers in a garden that you never get to see? I don't know. Hamilton. It's been a while. Planted seeds in a garden you never get to see. My father wanted to keep our family tradition going. And I suppose I want to do the same. That's all there is to it, really. That's all, is it? You think you can understand that, though your companion's actions might appear to be illogical. There is a kernel of reason nestled among them. She does not dig graves out of any sense of purpose. She does it, instead, out of sentiment. Besides, I have to do something to keep myself busy, don't I? If I spend my days idling all on my own, I think I'd go mad. Mad! The gravedigger laughs at this, as though the prospect of her own madness is amusing. She's as bad as a hatter. Her laugh, despite her slender stature, is not particularly delicate. It reminds you, perhaps unkindly, of the braying of a horse. You are ashamed of thinking such a thing, though. Your face flushes with the guilt of it. We cannot all be well-bred young ladies, you know. Wow, the narrator's guilting me. Still, the laughter of the gravedigger, as it echoes through the grey, gloomy sky, is strangely desperate. It sounds forced. Her smile, too, is a touch unnatural, the rictus grin of a corpse. You find, despite your attempts to return her laughter with a polite giggle, that you cannot. You cannot help but pity her. Sephiroth, I pity you. You retreat indoors briefly after your talk with the gravedigger, then set about some simple chores. The gravedigger trusts you well enough to manage sweeping the floor, a task which does not take particularly long, and the preparing of the meals, a task which takes slightly longer. It is not until much later, however, once the sun is already sunk beneath the horizon and the moon is high in the sky, that the grave digger returns from the outdoors. She is windswept after many hours spent exposed to the elements, and there is dirt caked beneath her fingers. The grave digger removes her cloak, which she hangs by the door, then looks to the pot suspended over the fire, a fire which you stoked with your own fair hands. The scent of cooking food, that of garlic and onions. Garlic will keep the vampires away. Fills the air, suffusing the interior of the kitchen in a homey aroma which makes your stomach rumble. Taking stock of this, the gravedigger smiles at you, a toothy smile which, despite her status as a lowly peasant, is surprisingly clean and bright and white. Thank you so much, dear one. There's nothing like returning home after a hard day's work to find dinner already prepared. Now, let me give it a test. The gravedigger dips a spoon into the soup, then brings it to her lips. She blows upon it. Then she places the spoon into her mouth, the wooden utensil clacking against her teeth. You observe this with a touch of anxiety. Will she like the food which you have prepared for her? You have cooked for her before in the past. She was always very complimentary of your efforts. Cooking is not your forte, however. You never had to concern yourself with it, really, growing up in relative comfort as you did. You think that you enjoy this rural, rustic mode of existence more than you did any of the privileges of your past life. At least now, with the gravedigger, you have a steadfast friend, a staunch ally. When you are with her, you are not alone, and that is worth its weight in gold. Waiting for somebody to murder me, I tell you now. Mmm, the gravedigger exclaims, after drawing the spoon from her lips, her smile a bright, guileless one. It's delicious. Your face flushes at the compliment. You are unaccustomed to receiving them, and it makes you feel good. Shyly, you ask the gravedigger if she truly meant that, a query which makes the gravedigger smile. Of course I mean it. You're quite good at cooking, really. That is a relief. You were not very good at all of this cooking malarkey in the beginning. You did not know how to handle a knife, nor how to peel a vegetable, and you cut yourself more than once. You bled into the soup on several occasions, but she loves that because she's a cannibal. So, the blood adds a little bit of extra iron. But never once did you throw the sullied soup out. The gravedigger lives a humble existence, and she cannot afford to waste her precious ingredients. Your soups, during your stay, have all been seasoned with the slightest hint of iron. I just made that joke. Today's soup, however, is a marked step above all the rest. You did not cut yourself with the knife even once. Maybe your companion's compliments are not empty fluff. Maybe you really are improving. This soup should be ready to serve. Add some bread too, that we can eat it with. But oh, I should brew some tea too. Let me. Ah yes, the tea. You knew that you were forgetting something. Cusco's tea, the tea with the leaves. You were so focused on the soup, it must have slipped your mind. Your face flushes yet again at this oversight, and shyly, you offer to correct it. The gravedigger, however, waves your request aside, for she has to put, sleeping herbs probably in there, so she can bury you alive. Come on, we know this is happening. She made so many graves that she picked out the perfect one for you. No, it's alright. You made the dinner, so I'll brew the tea. It's only fair, and it won't take all that long. Would you mind serving up the soup while I'm busy? Of course you would not mind. You do enjoy making yourself useful. For a lady, you are awfully domestic. You work alongside the gravedigger to finish your nightly meal, and together you serve it, soup and bread, alongside 2 cups of piping hot tea prepared by your hostess's own 2 hands. You sit together at the table, then partake in the simple fare after saying grace. The soup really is quite good, despite it being made from only the most commonplace of ingredients. There's a bit of kick to it, and it warms you from the inside out. The tea, meanwhile, is very soothing. So much so, it makes you feel rather sleepy. You would like to sit with the gravedigger for a while longer and tell stories, as you have sometimes in the past, that, or play cards. The nights are long, and there is no better way to pass them than spending time with her. Games of old maid, alas, will have to wait. You are too tired for it. You do not know what has happened, but after consuming your... I told you! But after consuming your victuals, you feel utterly fatigued. We got drugged. We've been drugged. You explain your predicament to the gravedigger between your yawns, and she nods in response. She's been waiting for this moment. That's alright. You don't need to stay up with me. Not if you ain't up to it. You should hot off to bed and rest that pretty head of yours. You do not think you are particularly pretty, but you presume that the gravedigger is just regurgitating a phrase to you. She does not truly mean it. She's not a Yuri. How could she? She is far prettier than you are. You thank the gravedigger for her understanding, and rise from the table. That fucking creaking noise freaks me out. Okay, well, we all know what's gonna happen, guys. Lads. You retreat to the spare bedroom on trembling legs, then change out of your clothes. You've only just slid into your nightgown when you hear the rapping of knuckles upon your door, light and unobtrusive. This rapping could, of course, belong to but one person. It is the gravedigger, come to check up on you. I'm sorry, the gravedigger says, her voice soft, but you rushed to your room so soon after eating, I couldn't help but worry about you. But you told me to go rest, because I'm tired. Do you mind if I took a look at you? I just want to see if you're alright. Then that night came the honeymoon. The gravedigger is trying to keep her voice steady, but you can hear it wavering regardless. She really does sound concerned, so much so, she could very well be on the brink of tears. You do not want her to cry for you. Don't cry for me. I'm already dead. God, I could fit a lot of Simpsons references into a visual novel. You would feel horribly guilty if you upset her, even inadvertently, given all that she has done for you. You bid the gravedigger entry into your room, therefore, without further delay, an invitation she hastens to take. The door swings inward with a creak, and there your hostess stands, still attired in black. Yes. Very black, that green outfit. Her clothes a stark contrast to your pure white, well, off-white nightgown. The gravedigger looks at you, seated in bed with your hair freed from your usual braids, and exhales. Is that relief, you wonder, playing about her face? But why? Relieved that the drug is working? What was she expecting to see exactly before entering your bedchamber? Thank you for letting me in, the gravedigger says, toying with her fingers. How do you feel? Not too terrible, you reassure her. There are no particular problems with your health. You just feel tired. Are you sure you're not sick? Your face does look a bit pale. That would be nothing out of the norm. You are always pale. God, this game does know me. I'm gay and I'm pale. True. Now, is there anything I can do for you? Would you like something warm to drink? Or perhaps a hot brick to place in your bed? It should keep you warm. A hot brick to the face? What? You appreciate your hostess's thoughtfulness, but you reassure her that it won't be necessary. You will be fine. I hope so. I thought about my father too before he... The gravedigger begins, but her voice soon trails off. She does not finish that thought. She does not need to. You know now what she was thinking of before she entered your bedroom. Cold, clammy skin, a sweating brow, rank, oozing pustules. You think upon these symptoms, which are eerily similar to those recounted during the Great Plague, which once beset your own country, and you shudder. If you don't want anything, then I'll be on my way, the gravedigger says. But before that... Before what? This was just a fancy on my part, but I was wondering, oh, here we go, the Yuri stuff, woohoo! Would you mind if I brushed your hair for a little while? Are you gonna let me choose, game? Your hair? That's right. It's such a pretty shade of red after all. God, okay, this game knows me. Because all of my residents at work are like, oh, you got such lovely red hair, and it's supposed to be neon pink, but it's faded out. Oh no! So, this game is, it could see me. such a, it's such a pretty shade of red is all. I just thought, well, it's just a fancy, really. You don't have to let me. Not if you don't want to. But I thought it might help you relax if you're feeling under the weather. I've heard it's supposed to be soothing. That is what the gravedigger says, but you have the distinct feeling that she is the one looking for solace here. A quantum solace. She is not quite so selfless, perhaps, as she would like you to think. But she has been so very good to you, have done so very much for you, that you do not want to begrudge her this small self-indulgence. You rather think she deserves it. You agree that I've made one choice in this game so far, and it's been almost an hour and a half. I've made one choice. You agree, therefore, to her request, and upon doing so, you are certain you have made the right choice. I don't know, because you won't let me choose. Your hostess's face lights up immediately, in a manner which makes you blush. Oh, thank you. It'd be my honor. Now let me fetch my brush. Let me go out the creaky door again. The gravedigger retreats from your bed. Think of something else. Gravedigger retrieves from your room in a hurry, but returns soon thereafter, holding in her right hand the promised brush. This artifact acquired, the gravedigger then settles herself upon your bed by your side. She looks at your hair for a few moments, her expression pensive. Then she announces that she will begin. The gravedigger leans in. The wooden frame of the bed creaks under her weight, a creak which melds with the sighing of the breeze outdoors. You can feel the bristles of the brush running through your hair. It is soothing enough, so much so, it makes you shiver. The sensation is a pleasant one, and somewhat nostalgic. Did your mother do this for you, you wonder, when you were a little girl, before she threw you away to basically finishing school? If she did, it must have been when you were a very little girl. You have not seen your mother in quite some time, not after you enrolled at the conservatoire. Oh, you have such lovely hair, dear one. It's soft, just like silk. Not at all like mine. Mine is so coarse. So, I think I'll just, scalp you and wear your hair like a wig. This gentle voice draws you out of your vague, half-formed reminiscences. It sounds as though the gravedigger is lost in nostalgia of her own, because her voice, when next she speaks, is dreamy. I think my mother used to brush my hair like this, for me, back when she was still alive. That must have been a long time ago, though. It is funny, you think, as the bristles of the brush continue to slide through your tresses, that you and the gravedigger should both be reminiscing, in tandem, about your respective mothers. Perhaps there is something maternal in the act of brushing one's hair, which is wont to summon forth such images. I would not know, personally. I cannot remember my own mother at all. I don't think I liked having my hair brushed very much, the gravedigger continues, her breath warm against the exposed nape of your neck. My mother used to complain that I squirmed too much. I can remember that. She always told me to sit still, though it wasn't my fault I squirmed. She used too much force. Now, this is curious. It sounds as though the reminiscences of the gravedigger are not particularly fond after all. Probably killed her mother. Ate her. Did she not get along well with her mother? I can't rightfully say, the gravedigger replies, in a somber sort of voice. I was young, like I said, when she died. I really don't remember her too well. But I don't think she ever had that much time for me. She was too busy with all the cooking and the cleaning. Oh, looking after my baby brothers. But she died in childbirth. She died in childbirth. So it could be a baby brother, but not both of them. I am seeing inconsistency in your logic. But she had time enough, despite that, to brush your hair. She did what she felt she had to do to make me look presentable. Not that it really worked. I wasn't like the other. I'm not like the other girls. I wasn't like the other girls in the village, you see, who like to sit indoors with their mothers and sew. I've always loved the outdoors. My father said I inherited that from him. Ruefully, the gravedigger smiled, not that you can see it with your back facing her. My mother said I wasn't very, maidenly. She didn't like that I always trapeze. I hope I said that right. Around outside with my father, watching as he dug graves. showing off lesbian tendencies like digging graves, you know. Oh. She said it wasn't appropriate, like I was some sort of a princess wearing a fine dress. The gravedigger snorts. I used to get a bit muddy, yes, and maybe I did get burns in my clothes and knots in my hair, but it shouldn't have mattered. It's not like I had any other hopes of marrying a prince, no matter what my mother said. But still, she hoped. She had a lot of hopes, my mother. High hopes. I think she might have resented my father, maybe, for working such a menial job. Our profession is an honest one, but it's never made much money. I think my mother was hoping for fine jewels and dresses and... Oh, I don't know. She always had ideas. Her head was full of fairy tales. It was a shame, I suppose, that her reality didn't match up to what she wanted. I didn't match up to what she wanted because you're a lesbian. The bitterness in your friend's voice is unmistakable. So much so you want to console her. What would you say to her, though? You never met your companion's mother. Can I have a choice in what I say? You never will, either. Her cold, inert body had been lying in the graveyard, buried beneath a tombstone for over a decade. You have no way of asserting whether your companion's mother truly cared for her. You do have intelligence enough, however, to understand that poorly thought-out condolences cause more harm than good. You would not like it if people tried to reassure you that, of course, your father loved you, really. If he loved you, then why did he send you away from home? Why did he never send you any letters? You know he was worried about his finances. That seems like a poor excuse to pretend that his only daughter did not exist. As for your own mother, meanwhile, she was a nice... At least, you think she was, but she was woefully ineffectual. Though she was nominally an adult, she always pleaded before your father's judgment. You think she was afraid of him. You do not try to tell the gravedigger, therefore, that her mother loved her, that she must have done, else she would not have given birth to her. Instead, you sit there, letting the brush run through your hair, and you say quietly that you understand. Sometimes, you feel like a disappointment yourself. Well, the gravedigger said after a pause, I'm glad I'm not the only one. I guess it happens to all of us. You guess so. Parents are only people, after all. While one would hope one's parents would be kind and attentive, they, too, can fall victim to caprices of their own. Just because one has brought a child into this world does not mean one will be able to take care of it properly. Not all parents are responsible, just as not all people are responsible. It is a painful subject. Oh well, it's all right if my mother never liked me, or even if she never loved me. I know my father did. That's all that matters. He was always there for me, no matter what. Your companion's voice catches in her throat. She winces. At least, till he wasn't. He died, and I didn't do a thing to help him. It was a, incurable plague. What the fuck were you supposed to do? Your companion's shoulders are beginning to shake. You still cannot see her, but you feel her body convulsing. You can sense her loneliness rolling off her in waves. It is an all-consuming, like the waters of a deep, dark ocean. Grief anew pierces your heart, not on your behalf, but for the sake of your benefactress. She does not deserve to suffer so much. You're trying to lull me into a false sense of security, but I know your tricks game. This you have no qualms with telling her. You turn to face her, and pluck the brush, which had been hovering in the air inert from her fingers. Then you let her know that her father's death was not her fault. What could she have done? She could not have cured his illness. I know, but I can't help to think, what if? I keep racking my head over and over, trying to come up with something. But I can't think of anything. And even if I could, it's too late. He's already dead. He's dead and buried. I buried him, and now I'm all alone. She might have been alone, you tell the gravedigger, but she isn't now, not anymore. How can she be when you are there? Till she murders you, puts you in a tomb. I know that! I know, and I'm grateful, but I don't know if I deserve it. Why would she not deserve your company? You do not understand. Because I couldn't do nothing for nobody. My father always looked out for me when I was a little girl, but when he needed me the most, I failed him. I failed everyone. All of the villagers, all of my friends, all died. What could I do if the same thing happened to you? I don't think I could bear it. I don't want you getting sick too, and I want to care about you so much. When is the killing gonna start? Been very patient game. I thought I'd gotten used to being on my own, but now that you're here, it's making me worry all over again. I've been worrying so much that I can't sleep from it. She's gonna kill me, so it's like, well, you'll never leave me now because you're a corpse in the ground. I'm scared. Your companion's voice catches in her throat. Oh, what? Then she collapses in on herself. She leans forward. She leans forwards. Forwards? Okay. Her arms wound about her middle as if to steady herself, and she cries. She cries and she cries and she cries, and makes it awkward for me. For a few moments, you look at the gravedigger, unsure of what to do. Her pale face, streaked with silvery tears, seems to flicker in the candlelight. Her shoulders, which seem too slender to bear the accumulative weight of all the sorrow she has endured, are shaking. Your fatigue continues to cling to you, as insistent as the fog which rolls amongst the tombstones in the graveyard at night. You are not so very tired, however. You cannot offer your hostess some comfort. You do not know what you can say to console her. You feel too weary to think of pretty sophisms. But there is something you can think of. You would not typically be so bold, of course, but you are tired enough for once to throw caution to the wind. Okay, is the Yuri time? I'm waiting for murder, or I'm waiting for Yuri. It's something. That and the tears of the gravedigger are awfully arresting. Oh, that's your turn on. You're so beautiful when you cry. Oh, okay. You open your arms, and before the gravedigger can pass comment, you pull her to your chest. Oh, a soft exclamation escapes the lips of the gravedigger, quieter than the sound of wintry snow as it brushes the ground. Then there is nothing. The gravedigger is stiff in your arms for a few moments, like the corpses she and her father used to steal away inside their wooden coffins. Sure. She is all wide eyes and awkward pointed elbows, tears still coursing down her pale cheeks. You worry briefly as you hold her that you have perhaps made a mistake. Were your attempts at consoling her too clumsy? I don't know, because the game has not let me make a decision about this. You would not know. You have never been in a situation like this before. You have never consoled any friends before, because you have never had any friends to console. It is not so now, however. You are as far away from your old life as it is possible to be, and the gravedigger does not curse you for your impudence. Neither does she try to squirm away from you. Instead, she sits there, still as a statue, cradled in your arms. Oh, I'm so very sorry to show you something so embarrassing. It's just, I get so lonely sometimes. Until at long last, with a breathy sob, she lets the full weight of her body fall against yours. You run your hands against your sobbing companion's shoulder blades in her back. Gently, you soothe her. You tell her that she does not need to apologize. There is no shame in crying. You hug her for many, many minutes while she sobs against your chest, wetting the front of your nightgown. No further words pass between you that night, but they do not need to. Words are irrelevant in a moment as tender as this, shared between two souls who have come to understand one another through mutual loneliness. Hey. Come on! Let's get some order, get it going. You slide beneath your sheets. You still feel exhausted, and the gravedigger joins you without asking for permission. Then that night came the honeymoon. It would be an unnecessary piece of politeness, really, given your acceptance is all but assured. You have already accepted the gravedigger, after all, every single inch of her. You have accepted her hospitality. You have accepted her food. Now you're accepting her company. In more ways than one. You have arranged yourself beneath the sheets, then draw her body to yours. The gravedigger has not yet changed into her nightwear. Her clothes will be horribly rumpled when she awakes on the following morning, her head resting against your chest. But tomorrow has ceased to matter. It no longer exists. There is no concept of time between the two of you. No thought of the day which will dawn once this night inevitably ends. What? Instead, there is only the warmth shared between you and the wetness on the cheeks of the gravedigger. There is the sound, irregular now, less intense than before, of your companion's muted, muffled sobs. There is this gentle, tender moment snatched in the midst of a deep, dark night, which can never be replaced. Your eyelids feel heavy, as though weighted down with stones. Okay, are we gonna get to it? Because it's been an hour and a half. I want to see something. I want to see some yandere. I know I guess it took a while too in Doki Doki, but come on. They droop inexorably downwards, pulling you, like a drowning maiden, into the dark, impenetrable abyss of slumber. You yawn. Then you fall asleep, cozied up beside the gravedigger like two cats in a basket. You sleep and you sleep and you sleep, more deeply than you've allowed yourself in quite some time. There we go, here we go, here we go. But when you awake, you find that you're no longer in the bed upon which you slept in, shrouded by sheets. I told you she was going to bury me alive! The gravedigger, too, is nowhere to be seen. Instead, you are quite alone, lying by yourself in the dark. You blink, but your surroundings do not become any clearer. Is it the middle of the night? Perhaps you were aroused from your slumber by the desire to relieve yourself, or else to slake your thirst. Your sleep has been awfully disordered as of late, and the smallest of noises have been enough to disturb you. That does not sound quite right, though. You slept well, of that you are certain. Your body feels invigorated, as though it has been slumbered for hours and hours. How many hours? You do not know. You do not know much of anything. You can feel a strange pinching sensation around your chest, however, and around your arms. It would appear as though somebody, but who else could have been save the gravedigger, changed your attire while you were sleeping. We're murdered. They said that, I don't think it's gonna end well. Doesn't matter what I do. That is the startling thought, but the darkness which entombs you is even more so. The darkness which surrounds you is unsettlingly complete. It is so thick you cannot penetrate it. Your newfound woes do not stop, however, at this deep, unnatural darkness. It is cold, too, and you're lying upon something hard, some sort of a stone slab. What is going on? You are in a grave, being buried alive. You reach out, but your movements are soon stymied. There is something heavy laying at line. Sorry, blah blah blah. I'm trying to talk here. There is something heavy lying atop you, something that is limiting your movements. You were anxious before, upon waking, but at this discovery, you feel downright aggrieved. Ooh, a sharp prong of panic pierces you, but you try to suppress it. Hysterics will get you nowhere. And I have looked at this like years ago, see like if you are buried alive, what you should do so you don't like run out of air and how to cover your face and how to get through the coffin. Very scary, but yeah. So you don't want to be, you got very precious oxygen right now. In most cases, they only tend to make bad situations even worse. You ought to know that already. You swallow your mounting dread as best you can, though it is coming on thick and fast, and try to squirt. You move your arms outwards, but they do not get very far. There is a wall above you, and walls on either side of you, walls which do not budge no matter how hard you push. Not, I must add, that you can push particularly hard, your anxious state notwithstanding. You have never had much in the way of upper body strength, no lower body strength. And, I wonder who mentioned that they had good upper body strength earlier. You do not have much in the way of strength at all. You feel quite helpless as you lie there, out of breath from your meager exertions, unsure of what you should do. You can hardly see a foot in front of your face. Where's this light coming from then? You do not know where you are, nor why, but a terrible premonition, a deadly premonition, if you will, is beginning to bear down upon you, one which initially you tried to discard. You do not want to accept it as a possibility, for where else could the truth lie? You are lying in a box, hemmed in by walls which offer only a scant few inches for you to stretch in any direction. Coffin! Where else could it be but a coffin? Told you. The moment you allow yourself to ponder this awful reality is the moment you hear it. The irregular sound of drumming. It is as though somebody, though they must be a very large somebody, is tapping their fingertips upon the lid of the coffin. Oh, that sounds like a shovel. That, or it is raining. It is not the fingers of a giantess, though, which is disturbing you, nor is this falling rain. It is dirt. This sound continues on and on, as though it is drilling its way inside your skull. It is relentless. It is merciless. Like the ticking of a great celestial clock, it cannot be stopped. Your time is almost running out. But you knew that already, didn't you, when you were running through the forest? You ought to have known, silly thing, that you cannot outpace your destiny forever. Sooner or later, it would catch up with you. You are stubborn, though, and you do not want to accept this. Not content to simply lie there, you cry out. You cry not for your parents, whom you hardly knew, nor for your school friends, for you never had any. Instead, you cry out for your new companion, the girl with whom you have been living, and whom you have shared one precious, cherished moment. You cry out for the gravedigger. Surely this is some manner of mistake. Once you realize that you are in fact entombed in one of the coffins she is currently filling, for who else would be moving the dirt above you, she would cease her operations at once. She will pull you out of the darkness, back into the world of the living, and she will hold you close. She will embrace you. She cannot mean to cause you any harm, not when she has been so good to you, so kind. You fell for it. Why would she bury you? You cry to her so loudly you fear your vocal cords might tear, all while banging against the roof of your compact prison. You cry desperately, helplessly, and to your relief, your cries do not fall upon deaf ears. Okay, here we go! Let's see what she has to say. The sound of the falling soil stops, albeit briefly. Then you hear a voice. The voice is very faint, given it's been filtered through your coffin's sturdy lid, but you recognize it. So, you're awake then, are you, dear one? The gravedigger says. She sighs. Then she says in a perplexed sort of voice, Now, that is a pickle. I was hoping you'd be asleep a couple hours more, so the last time we spoke could have been on better terms. If you keep screaming like that, I'm going to feel bad. Your companion's words, though distant, are unmistakable. You are so tense, you are attuned to every single syllable, and each of them make you gasp. Was this not a mistake, then? Does she truly mean to bury you alive? Yes, I figured that one out the moment we came into this damn village. You posit this question to the gravedigger as best as you can, trying to keep the tremors from your voice as you do. Perhaps you think, in your optimism, that if you do not let her know how afraid you are, she will reward you for your bravery and let you go. Haha, no, you're dead. Is this what you've been hoping? If this is what you've been hoping, though, it is in vain. That's right. You really do catch on quick. So it would appear she really has committed to the task of burying you. What an unfortunate turn of events. A series of events. Why, though, would she do such a thing? You thought she was your friend. We are friends, the gravedigger says, her voice still worryingly offhand, worryingly empty. I'm very fond of you. There's nobody dearer to me than you. I've had a really good time with you these last few. How long's it been again? I don't remember. Neither do you. Well, if this little detail has slipped both your minds, it can't be all that important. You have other things to worry about. If you really are friends, you say to the gravedigger, then what does she hope to gain by burying you? You do not understand, but you understand her reply even less. Ooh. Well, here's the thing, the gravedigger says, in a reasonable sort of voice, as though burying someone alive could have ever been thought of as a reasonable action. I've been digging graves for a long time, see? You cannot see. It is too dark. But you affirm that you do all the same. Well, I was digging all these graves, but I've not had anybody to put them in. Not for ages. It was rather sad. I told you. Watch digging all these graves. With no corpses. Put you in one. You think you know this? You think you know where this train of logic, twisted though it is, might be going. So you do not interrupt her. You know no good would come of it. All you can do for the present is lie there and listen. I was thinking I'd never find another person to bury in this godforsaken village. Not after the plague messed everything up. I was getting desperate. Till you came along, that is. Now that I have somebody I can bury, I'm not gonna let the opportunity pass me by. Oh, she's nutty. That plague messed up my whole grave digging business. I'm sorry, but this is just part of my job. It's what my father taught me to do. It's all I know how to do. I buried my mother, and I buried my father, buried all my friends. Now, I'm going to bury you too. It is sound logic, in a sense. As the daughter of a gravedigger, digging graves is her job, but something about it rankles you. She could have just went to a different place and buried there. If only you could put your finger on it. Ah, yes. There is a bit of a flaw with her reasoning, is there not? You are not dead, after all. You might not be dead now, the gravedigger says, in response to your ingenuity, but you will be, if given enough time. I mean, everybody else I've ever known's died. Who's to say you wouldn't be next? I'm just getting ahead of schedule. It seems rather more likely that you will die, and quickly. Wait, I was just using the wrong voice for that. It seems rather more likely that you will die, and quickly, if she persists with her poorly thought out plan to bury you. Your coffin is not very large, it affords you precious little space. Eventually, if trapped within it for long enough, you will run out of oxygen. Then you will suffocate. Surprised you haven't run out already. That, or you will starve to death. Either way, your demise will be a slow, painful one. Um, so the reason why I'm really scared of being buried alive is anyone ever watch that Kevin Bacon show, The Following? I watched the first season back in university when it was coming out, and one of the main characters, she gets captured by like the cult people, and she gets buried alive. And then they do the stupid thing where she has her cell phone and stuff, and she's talking to them, and then they're using that like using her cell phone GPS to try to find her. But they're like, keep her on the phone, keep her talking. It's like, no, you're supposed to save oxygen. Like she could have probably like Kevin Bacon got there and he found her, but she was already dead at that point. But I feel like she could have survived if she just not wasted her oxygen talking to him on the phone. So anyway, that's what this reminds me of, and that's why I'm afraid of being buried alive, because that was kind of scary to watch. And then I guess there was 2 more seasons of that show, but I didn't really care at that point. The cult leader guy was not he wasn't very charismatic enough for me to believe, oh yes, totally people would follow this wacky guy into his cult. Anyway, either way, your demise will be a slow, painful one. You are unsure which death would be worse, though, given how precarious your situation is, you do not wish to expend the necessary energy needed to ponder it. You need to plead with the gravedigger, and quickly, while she is still here. You tell her, tearfully, that you would not leave her. Why would you? You try to sound as convincing as your disordered nerves will allow, but the gravedigger remains unmoved. You say that, she says, but how can I know you're telling the truth? I thought you said you were a traveler. I never stay put in one place for long. You get sick of me before long, then you'd leave me and think of the other option. You go with her, go to a bigger place, get hired as a well, yandere logic, This way, at least, I can be assured that we'll always stay together. If I bury you like I did the others, we'll never be far apart. I even took care to put you in a nice spot, close to my home, so you're only a stone's throw away, really. Isn't that nice? Privately, you think that the gravedigger has a different conception of the word nice to you. You do not say this, however. You cannot say much of anything because the panic has begun to set in. It is choking you, stopping up your throat so you can only cry. You scream. You beg and you plead, but it does little good. The gravedigger has already buried her mother. She has already buried her little brothers. She has even buried her father, whom she loved above all else. She thinks by burying you, she is doing unto you an act of great kindness. You think that she is going to kill you. In a sense, you are both right. Your opinions are so diametrically opposed on this matter, however, never be able to find any common ground. You might as well save your screaming. She will not listen to you. She is beyond listening. Shush, shush, dear one, said the gravedigger, very gently, just as gently as she spoke last night, when she confided in you all of her fears. It won't be so bad, really. Nothing will be able to hurt you down there. It'll just be like going to sleep for a really, really long time. You can rest, and while you rest, I'll tend to you. I'll plant flowers on your grave. You'd like that, wouldn't you? This way, we can always be together, and I'll never be lonely again. While the gravedigger speaks, she begins to pile even more soil onto the roof of your coffin. The sound of dirt on top of you, on your arms, your legs, and your head, conceals your companion's final words. You cannot hear her. You cannot hear anything beyond the sounds of the dirt and the scrapings of the shovel and your own desperate, frantic screams. You scream and you scream and you scream without cease until your throat feels hoarse, but your efforts are in vain. You hammer on the lid of the coffin with as much strength as you can muster, but the lid of the coffin is nailed shut. Oh yeah, and they also nailed it shut in the show in the following. Ooh, no thank you, no thank you. You are in no position to remove it. All you can do is lie there, screaming and crying and banging your fist on the roof of the coffin over and over, as more dirt and debris falls on top of you. Is the light getting less? Eventually, enough dirt falls on you to stifle your screams for good. Lovely. The gravedigger can no longer hear you, and you can no longer hear her. You are all alone, trapped in a narrow wooden box which, regardless of what you want, is now your new home. You can smell the soil in the backs of your nostrils when you inhale. It is so potent you can taste it on your tongue. You can taste the eventual, inevitable decay of your own body. You will remain trapped here, underground, forever and ever. Or, to use less melodramatic terms, until the last of your energy escapes you, and you succumb to your own slow suffocation. Well, they have the trigger warning for this. It isn't a very pleasant way to go, but you'll forgive me if my sympathy is limited. You did bring this upon yourself, you know. Why do I feel like the narrator is the person who was chasing me in the woods? You reap what you sow, and in your case, you made a series of bad decisions that led to your untimely demise. I made one decision. I made one. The game's given me one decision. It's where I could run off to. So I don't see how the rest of this is my fault. Now, what do you want to do? Will you accept this fate of yours and rest in peace? Or you'll try to fight against it? Are you gonna let me choose, game? Are you gonna let me choose this time? Oh, yes! Finally! It only took like forever for me to make another choice. I'm not gonna accept my fate, I'm gonna fight against it. Fuck you. Are you not happy with the hand that fate has dealt you? Very well, I cannot blame you. It is quite a grim ending. I would not wish it upon my worst enemy, and you are rather dearer to me than that. Now, why don't we give this another go? Just try not to be buried alive this time. I can only endure so much of your screaming. Oh, okay. Your fate is once again in your hands. Now I wonder, which path will you take? Oh, okay, so interesting. So seems that okay, you don't just choose one path. Well, if you wanted to end the game prematurely, you could just be like, yeah, I'm done. So I guess I have to go through all these routes, and maybe I'll finally find out who this person chasing me in the woods was. Okay, so I guess we'll just try all the paths and see which crazy yandere will try to kill me next. Okay, so I'll choose the path, then I think I'm gonna end it. We're gonna go to the shore. So you want to go to the shore? Good idea. What will you discover there, I wonder? This night is far from over. There are any number of adventures still awaiting you. I hope that you have prepared yourself in advance, and I do hope, for your sake, that you learned how to swim. I have a sneaking suspicion that the skill might come in handy. Okay, here we go. Let's see which person will get me next. So there's two more paths we'll have to do, but it's been almost 2 hours, and I'm just so much reading, and like basically the only choices I've been given is like, where do you want to go? And do you want to fucking die and end the game prematurely, or do you want to just, you know, kind of reverse time a bit? So at least this game I know I can finish up, but I'm gonna have to wait till my next day off. I'll come back to this. It's not not spooky like I want it to be, but whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna end that here, and I'll pick up to it when I feel like it, but I'd like to finish this game at some point, because, you know, try to support, you know, the other, like, indie publishers. This is on Itch.io too, so I'll leave my feedback on there at least, to see what other people thought. I do like the aesthetic, like the borders, like the text boxes and stuff. The character art's really nice. Um, yeah, so yeah, I'm done for now. So yeah, okay. If you stayed around, thank you. I know visual novels aren't the most interesting thing to watch on stream, but I'm trying to just learn more and more about them before I do my own. Mine will have more choices, I think. It's fun when there's like lots of choices. Not like Life is Strange. Oh, I should play that on stream, and then I could just vent about how much I hate it. That'd be a miserable time for everybody, but you know. Alright. Have a good rest of your day, and happy weekend. It is Friday, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Okay. Have a happy weekend. Bye-bye.